answer me, somehow give me a sign.
Brad! Shit, it's broken.
Chickenheart, a nickname that would be given to one of the members of the RPD STARS team, a moniker that would play itself out throughout the storyline in Resident Evil, displaying his lack of courage in several instances, though some he would try to make amends for, but in the end would also be a pivotal part of the Resident Evil lore before and during the events of the Raccoon City Outbreak. So without any more delays, let's cover the life and story of Brad Vickers, where we cover his role throughout the many Resident Evil games that he was a part of, what actions he did that could have been disastrous for his fellow STARS members, and how he got the nickname Chickenheart.
Hey! Brad! Where the hell's he going?
So it's 1996, Brad Vickers made his debut in the original Resident Evil 1, portrayed as one of the Raccoon City Police Department's STARS members, a group of highly trained and specialized personnel who were tasked to do higher level missions for their precinct, which Brad had several roles within this elite group of individuals, which had him being their pilot, their chemical and hazardous prevention officer, and their digital and communications expert.
Broken.
Also within STARS, he would gain the moniker of Chickenheart due to his less courageous nature and was known to be picked on by Joseph Frost, another member of STARS. So going back to his debut in Resident Evil 1, the premise would start off with reports of grisly murders in a cannibalistic nature happening just at the
outskirts of this city.
The public, scared of this news, demanded that the RPD start an investigation into the matter. STARS, who are composed of two separate teams, both Alpha and Bravo, would be the ones to lead into these gruesome reports. Bravo team would be the first to head into the Arklay Mountains, where more incidences were reported. Though through some unforeseen events, Bravo team would go missing, prompting the other half of STARS Alpha team, to head towards the last known location of Bravo team, with Brad Vickers as their pilot, which heading to the Arklay Mountains, Brad and the rest of the Alpha team squad would circle around the forest, this until they find the wreckage point of Bravo team's crashed helicopter. Though landing near the vicinity, they quickly realize the mistake they've made, because soon after landing, Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Barry Byrne, and Joseph Frost would be ambushed by infected Cerberuses. Joseph would lose his life in the midst of the chaos. Brad at that time was still inside the chopper, and through sheer panic of what just happened to his comrade Joseph, he fled the scene with the helicopter, leaving his fellow STARS members to fend for themselves on the ground, truly living up to his nickname Chickenheart.
No! Don't go!
Brad!
Of course, this would be the start of Resident Evil 1, as the remaining STARS members on the ground would make it to the Spencer Mansion. There, they would be left to fight off zombies, giant creatures, BOWs, and even deal with a traitor within STARS. Well, during the course of RE1, Brad would have a change of heart, knowing full well he just abandoned his fellow STARS members. Guilt came over him, so he decided to head back and try to rescue what remains of the STARS team. He would try to communicate with them via radio. Though unclear for the most part, he would circle around the perimeter for the time being, letting any survivors from Alpha or Bravo team know to give him signal for rescue.
Brad, come in, STARS Alpha team. Come in.
This is Jill.
Does anybody hear me?
I hear you, Brad. Over.
STARS Alpha team. Bravo team. It doesn't matter. Respond. I repeat, this is Brad.
Brad? Brad!
This is Brad. If you can't answer me, somehow give me a sign.
Jill to Brad. Can you hear me? Brad! Brad!
Well, by the end of Resident Evil 1, a signal flare would be sent out. Brad would pick up on this and would assist the remaining STARS team on their final battle against one of the early versions of Tyrants. Here, he would drop a rocket launcher for either Jill or Chris to use, starting the iconic final blast from a rocket launcher that was prevalent throughout the series.
You lose, big guy.
So after picking up the survivors from RE1, which constituted Jill, Chris, Barry and the only STARS Bravo team member, Rebecca, they would go back to Raccoon City, which most of them would try to let the public know about the events that ensued at the Arklay Mountains and Spencer Mansion. And when I say most, I mean everyone except Brad. Because even though being told of the nightmare that ensued in RE1, Brad did very little to help substantiate his fellow comrades' reports of zombies, monsters, and the conspiracy that Umbrella was behind everything. Even when the remaining STARS tried to inform the police chief, Brian Irons, of the incident, he came to deaf ears. And looking closer, we can see Brad in the background, looking neither to hinder or help the situation. The following events would have the STARS team officially disbanded by Chief Irons, though unbeknownst to them that the reasonings for this was that he was very much involved with Umbrella's shady dealings, making it publicly known that the dissolution of the Pride of the RPD was due to gross negligence and the mishandling of their mission at the Arklay Mountains. Also, a note could be found that substantiates Chief Irons' dealings with Umbrella, which it reads: "Our only present concern is the presence of the remaining STARS members, Redfield, Valentine, Burton, Chambers, and Vickers. If it comes to light that the STARS have any evidence to the activities of our research, dispose of them in such a manner that would appear to be purely accidental. Continue to monitor their progress and make certain their knowledge does not go public." Though Jill, Chris, and company would try to refute this fact and continue to let as many people know in Raccoon City about what truly happened in RE1, Brad in essence kept his head down, fearing he may lose his job if he kept poking around and investigating into Umbrella. Resident Evil 3 Remake's note of this would be a great segue prior to his minor role in that game as well. To Jill Valentine, "Hey hotshot, how you holding up? I still can't believe Iron suspended you. It's such bullshit. He ought to pin a medal on you for making it out of that hellhole back in July. Of course, you're going to poke around and ask questions about it. I hope you're not mad at me for keeping my head down. Everything's been happening so fast. STARS was the pride of the force. When the chief disbanded us out of nowhere, I thought for sure I was going to lose my job. Word has it you're planning to leave Raccoon City. I figured you wouldn't take the suspension lying down. Just promise to watch your back. Umbrella won't sit by while you try to dismantle their business. Take care, Jill. Brad Vickers, STARS Alpha Team, now and forever." P.S. Had to slip this message to the pizza guy to avoid detection. Enjoy the extra large Mega Meat Supreme. It's on me and the guys. Oh, at least he ordered the Mega Meat Supreme, so thanks, Brad. So now comes Brad's role in both renditions of Resident Evil 3, with his first actual in-game cameo happening from the original version inside of the bar Blackjack. Here we see him attacked by a zombie.
Brad, hang in there. Why isn't someone doing something about this?
I didn't know you were still alive, Jill. The police aren't trained for this kind of situation. What could they do? Listen, he's coming for us. We're both gonna die.
What are you saying?
You'll see. He's after STARS members. There's no escape.
This has to be one of the most significant moments in either iteration of Resident Evil 3. The fact that he plays a similar role to Marvin from Resident Evil 2, as he explains how unprepared they were in dealing with the ongoing catastrophe in Raccoon City. But the more pressing detail was the hint of a monster that's only after STARS members. A note from Brad also substantiates his fear for this monster, and we can only find this in a Nintendo 64 version of Resident Evil 2, in the same tunnel where we see Brad in a zombified state, but more on that later.
There's no escape.
Anyways, the note would point out some key information. No, is it that monster in the black suit again? Why does that thing keep chasing me? What did I do? This must be someone's sick idea of a joke. If I knew things were gonna end up like this, I would have left the STARS team a long time ago. But whining won't help me now. I know I'm finished. Oh, and in my hometown Delucia, I bet the flowers are in bloom. If I could only see them once more before I die.
Good luck!
What's interesting about finding this note of Brad was the fact that we can read this while playing Resident Evil 2, because we knew Resident Evil 3 Nemesis would not be released for another year, and if following the actual storyline that occurred between RE2 and 3, the note found while playing RE2 only tells a story that has already happened, with Resident Evil 3 happening a day before and after the events of Resident Evil 2. But besides that note from Brad, the implication of a looming threat to Jill very well sets the tone for the remaining part of our gameplay before our epic encounter with this tyrant. this entrance to Nemesis definitely has to be one of the most iconic and one of the most memorable boss entrances we've had in the series. The event only gets ramped up due to Brad's death, indicating the massive threat that this BOW Tyrant Nemesis would be for the remainder of the game. Also, did you know that if you chose to fight Nemesis instead of running away, we can get the stars card from Brad's dead body, in a way cutting a couple of steps during our playthrough in the RPD station.
Relax. You're fine.
If you say so.
Anyways, remember I mentioned that earlier in Resident Evil 2 that we can encounter a zombified Brad? Well, this tie-in from Resident Evil 3 explains how he got to that state. After being tentacled by Nemesis, Brad would still be infected by the T-virus. His subsequent turn into a zombie was already inevitable. Another recount was said that his initial infection happened much earlier, with the bite he suffered at Bar Blackjack prior to his arrival at the RPD entrance. This would be emphasized more in Resident Evil 3 Remake, which that brings us to his rendition to that game, having a bit of a difference with his interaction with Jill. We already knew what he was up to prior to us starting the game. The note found that we read earlier uncovers his less active approach of investigating into Umbrella, but again, at least he left Jill with that Mega Supreme pizza. What's more, in this apartment section of the game, we are called by him.
Hello?
Jill, are you okay?
Brad, is that you?
Listen, you gotta get out of there.
What are you talking about?
I don't have time to explain. You gotta get out of there right now.
Alright, let me grab my...
Already a much different approach was made in this version of Brad, because in the original, we see him running around town from the zombies. It wasn't until we get to the bar that we actually have any kind of conversation with him. Also, we see him face to face shortly after, again emphasizing to Jill the threat Nemesis poses to the remaining STARS members.
Jill? Over here!
Brad!
You okay?
What was that thing?
Damned if I know. But right now it's got a hard-on for the only two STARS left in town. You and me. I'm not sticking around. Just look around you. The longer we wait, the more screwed we are.
So Jill and Brad would make their way to the bar area like the original, and again Brad would be bitten, indicating his infection with the T-virus.
Door behind you, go!
Don't think about it! We're gonna make a run for it!
Come on, Jill. We know how this ends.
No, I don't!
Are we still a team?
Always!
Then do me a favor. Don't fuck up like I did. Go!
What I love about this moment from him was a deviation from his chicken heart persona that they portrayed him to have, because this time around, he didn't hesitate to save his comrade. If anything, this indicated his care for his fellow STARS member. In some way could be a redeeming point for him, and could be a way to make up for his utter failure during Resident Evil 1 and how he left the STARS Alpha team stranded.
Are we still a team?
Always!
But before we end the video, the last bit of difference between the two versions of Brad in RE3 would be his final cameo of the game, which in the original would be his encounter with Nemesis at the RPD entrance. Here in Resident Evil 3 Remake, we would have this.
Come on, man. Not you too. Sorry. Shit, it's locked. You stay on the door. I got this fucker.
I think this has to be the very first time in-game that we see a zombie talk, and having Brad have that moment was a total shock factor. Also, to be honest, this moment could be seen as both good and bad. With the good was that it explains how Marvin Branagh would be injured and infected with the T-virus. The bad was that omission of Brad's ambush by Nemesis. And to be frank, again I think the original version of Nemesis's entrance to the game felt much more impactful.
Sorry.
though I still do like the link of Marvin's injury coming from Brad himself. So in conclusion, we learn that Brad did live up to the moniker of Chicken Heart in the early versions of Resident Evil, though in the remake, he seems to have some type of redemption from that name. Also, the difference on how his death was handled between the two versions of Resident Evil 3 definitely defines his character role, which in the original, he sets a tone for the beginning of the game and the impending threat that Nemesis would be. In remake, he would be the first in-game zombie that we see talk, and how his attack on Marvin would explain the later events in Resident Evil 2. Anyways, which version of Brad Vickers did you guys like? And do you guys believe that he deserved the nickname Chicken Heart? Or do you guys think that he made up for what he did in Resident Evil 1 with the way he saved Jill in RE3 Remake? Please let me know your thoughts on the comment section down below. Also, if you guys want more content like this, then please feel free to check this video out right here. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is Hey DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
Broken.
Sorry.